Yeah, so um, we actually on though. Um, well, my name is Satish Shamrup. Um, I'm 28 years old now. Um, I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, and I'm actually into music production, music producer, and aspiring to become a audio engineer as well, which is a bit difficult. Yeah, so this entire this video shoot here is basically to oh yeah, and today's actually Diwali though. Yeah, happy Diwali to myself and everyone out there. Yeah, it's actually 2:52 a.m. in the morning, Monday the 24th of October. Yeah, yep. So um, yeah, I'm actually doing this video to just share some of my life experiences growing up and challenges that I had and still having at the moment. So, excuse me, I'll be cool a bit. Yeah, so, when I was like 13, when I stepped into my teens, I actually started suffering with like migraines and pain in my head and so on. And these like pain was like constant. It was like just constant pain and migraine. It was like pain, real painful. It was like very very painful. And I couldn't explain myself because I was like too young to explain myself. And I would cry. I would cry sometimes. I couldn't attend school sometime. I had some days I had to stay home. I was like 13, 14 around those times. I couldn't explain myself. I should just cry and like point to my head and tell my mom, my head, my head, my head. And I was too young to explain like what was going on. And this pain would like basically cause like confusion. And there were times I would just zone out and be like real confused, and I would feel like real off, and I would just break down and cry. And this pain would like literally make me depressed. And I never liked being around people when I was like in my teens when this was happening. And yeah, so it fluctuated throughout my entire teen, where it came and go, and I went for counseling and so on, and it never really helped because I basically like break down in the doctor's office and just you know I just break down crying because I couldn't explain myself. Or like I was too ashamed, or you know say what was actually going on, because it affected me psychologically as well, the pain. And like I didn't know where to actually start, or I didn't exactly know where to start talking, like talking and saying, because I was so young and so like flustered and like couldn't understand what was really going you know. And yeah, and when I like came out of, well, I had good times in between, and yeah, definitely this affected my entire ability to perform good in school. I never performed well in secondary school, and yeah, it was horrible. So I basically suck at school. So when I stepped out of my teen in like I was like 18, 19, 20, somewhere around there. Like these pain like came back. This head pain, and it came back, and it was the first time I was actually like real bad. It was actually a bit bad. I was like in what 2014, 13 into 14, ended up at 13 into 14. Yeah, that year it started coming back, and it was actually that time I was actually placed on antidepressants to treat the chronic pain in my head, because it was actually causing anxiety and so on. And back then, at the age of 19, 18, I didn't even know what it was about. I didn't even know about, well, yeah, I didn't have no clue what was anxiety. You know, I had no clue what anxiety was. And it was around 2014 when that started happening, and then I'd get to know about mental illness and so on, like depression and anxiety and so on. I didn't really know much about anxiety though. I had anxiety, but I never knew I had anxiety, And I'd been placed on antidepressant to treat the pain and so on, because the pain I was actually getting was affecting me mentally, and it was actually affecting my sleep. It was causing anxiety. Everything was basically getting to me. Like my mind was just overthinking everything, and the slightest thing was just getting to me, and the slightest thing that I do was just getting to me because of the pain, and the pain was just bringing on confusion, And yeah, 2014, I was on medication for maybe 1 month or something. Yeah, 1 month, I think. Yeah, if I could recall well. Yeah, and it went away. But yeah, the pain was still there. I can't actually tell if the medication helped with the pain to go away, or the pain went away on its own. It was real, my brain was literally burning, pain, this chronic migraine, and lack of sleep and all this stuff, I think what had really happened is that 2 years straight I went really extreme in school. Basically waking whole night till morning, getting 1 hour sleep, waking up and getting organized for school. And I did that for 2 years straight, just constant. Waking whole night till morning, 1 hour sleep, go to school, come back home, sleep, wake up back around 11 in the night, go straight till morning. My sleeping pattern was just upside down. Back in 2011, that was into 2013, I did that for 2 years straight. So I think at the end of that 2 year period, it took a toll on me afterwards when I finished school, and yeah, it was very stressful. It was very stressful. I had a lot of acne and so on, and yeah, so I think that's what had contributed to it. And afterwards I was placed on medication in 2014, and eventually it actually faded away though, the pain and so on, and things was back to normal. And 2014 was good, and 2014 was the year I actually get back seriously into music, because when I was young, at the age of when I was at the age of 7, my mom took me to piano classes. So music was always in my blood, but when I had secondary school, I basically kind of phase out of that artistic side, Art was always in me, and tech stuff, technology was always in me, but secondary school kind of changed the game a bit, Things went a bit on a different track, So yeah, 2014, when I realized that I suck in school, I went straight into following my gift and talent that God gave me, So I started like getting real obsessed with like producing music and how music is being produced because I'm a huge fan of electronic dance music. I grew up listening to techno, and I get real hooked on the rave EDM scene and studios and softwares and plugins and how they produce music and so on. And yeah, I get real carried away and I was like amazed and blown away how they actually produce music, and how I'm able to actually produce music on a laptop with a pair of headphones. So I get real carried away into it, and I was like, okay, cool. Let me actually try this, because I suck at school. Let me go after my gift and talent and dream. And my family was supportive of it. So 2014, 2015, yeah, buy some studio gears in America, came back to Trinidad, set up my bedroom studio, and I started like I did a crash course in SPCS in digital audio workstation, and afterwards, yeah, I was in the 2016. I did that crash course in SPCS, and afterwards that same year I started a certification program in UTT called MTech, stands for Music Technology, and that course, when I started it basically took a nasty toll on me with my health. It was like a bit of a shocker to my body, mentally and physically, psychologically. It was real bad. It started to like affect me mentally, physically, psychologically, and like my mind was just in reverse, and like I was how to say it, I was physically affected and mentally affected. And when you're mentally affected, you will be physically affected. And when you're physically affected, you will be mentally affected, like vice versa. And that is what was happening, like real nasty symptoms and like burning in my brain and scraping and burning in my face with anxiety and not sleeping properly and all this stuff. And things started to get all bad. It was actually a 1 year course, a 1 year certification course program within Napa UTT. And yeah, it was crazy, and like it was affecting me real bad mentally. I had to go and see like a psychologist and therapist, and I was just taking like tranquilizers like Valium and Panadol to kill the pain and so on, but it was just like suppressing the symptoms, but it wasn't really treating the pain. And until like things get out of hand, until like I actually suffered a massive headache, like a migraine on this half of my brain, which was brutal, while I was out with my brother at the grocery. And yeah, I was actually walking going back to the car, and the migraine was so like brutal I couldn't even see the ground. I didn't say nothing. I came back and I meet my brother, and I didn't say nothing. I tried to brush it off. It's only when I came home I tell my mom and dad what had happened. And yeah, of course, I actually break down and cry and told them so and so what happened, and it was nice. Then after, I think it was, yeah, either one happened first. Yeah, so then after, while I was in class sitting a day, I actually felt this sensation on this half of my face, like a sensation while I was sitting in class in school, listening to my lecture and taking notes and so on, and this sensation just flared up on this half. When I went to the washroom, my face was like a bit red on the side, and I just started like throwing water on my face, because yeah, I was a bit like, like what the hell going on, So then after I came home, I don't think I told my mom what happened that day in class. I kind of kept it to myself, but not knowing what was gonna happen in the long run, you know. So then after I was actually put on Cymbalta, which is a antidepressant, but it's really and truly to treat the neuropathic pain and the all the symptoms I was like suffering with, like the little, the scraping and the skull, because this entire side was a bit weak, so I was like getting all these, majority of the pain was coming from this side. So the medication had helped for a few months, well, in 2017, within the certification program. Then it's sort of like that same year, it's sort of like get immune to my body, and it get immune to my body. But at the same time, while taking that medication, I strongly believe that it sort of like weaken the area at the same time, because to suppress something, it also weakens at the same time. So that was 2017. So 2017, yep, that was 2017. Yeah, so 2017, 2018 now, things was getting like real crazy. I tried going to natural doctors and doing natural stuff and using natural medication and Ayurvedic stuff, Ayurvedic medicine and so on, and it never seemed to work. It never seemed to work at all, and I was telling the doctors and I had no other choice but to start using like benzodiazepam again, like Rivotril and so on, because Panadol wasn't working. Rivotril I was using to just tranquilize the pain, because even though I was like using these homeopathic medicine, the pain will be so brutal that I'll have no other choice but to go and use like benzodiazepam, to tranquilize the pain. It was that bad sometimes in between, and it was bad, and then after, like, what happened, that sensation I'd suffered with back then, and the migraine on the side from my brain I'd suffered in two separate occasions. I can't remember which one happened first and second, but yeah, it came back to haunt me, but it came back to haunt me in a very, very unpleasant way. I started getting like muscle spasms and twitching and so on, and like drooping of the eyelid and so on. Even though I'd get the drooping of the eyelid before, while I was doing the certification back in 2017, but the drooping of the eyelid was like a one-time thing, and that was it. It just went. But in 2018, everything just came. Yeah, like this entire side of my brain was just squeezing and compressing, and I was getting like sticking sensation, and like the points by the trigeminal nerve here, and like here, slowly, gradually, everything just started like just in 2018, I was getting mild twitching and drooping of the eyelid and like squeezing, and like my brain was basically feeling soggy and so on. And it was very frustrating because I couldn't exercise in the gym. I had to like come back home when I went to the gym, because I couldn't last long in the gym, even though I was like trying to push myself and trying to exercise and see if that would help. It didn't work, until I went back to the doctor, and he put me on a stronger dosage of the Cymbalta, and it was like a double dose, and that put a nasty shock on my body, and that was like the worst time of my entire life. I sometimes intend to hate the doctor to this day. I won't say his name. And a normal GP doctor, and he had put me on the stronger dosage of the Cymbalta to help treat the pain, because the pain was that bad, and I was just suppressing it, but it reached a point like I just had enough, and I just wanted to treat it again. But when he had placed me on the stronger dosage of the same exact drug, my body couldn't have handled it the way it had handled it from the beginning on the milder dosage when I started in 2017. I had some nasty side effect from the beginning when I started using it in 2017, but it was nothing. Yeah, I had some minor symptoms from the beginning, yeah, but it was nothing that bad. It was a bit scary, but nothing bad. Just last like 2 days and so on. A little mild shocking and so on to the back of my brain here. But it just last like for like 2 days or something, you know. And yeah, the second time in 2018 when he put me on like stronger dosage, it put my body in like an extreme shock. I couldn't withstand the intensity of it, you know. And I used the medication for like what 4 days or something, and I just started break down and like crying, and I was like out of myself. I was hallucinating. I wasn't myself. I started to feel horrible. I started to get like blackouts for the first time, you know. And I was like real scared, you know. I was like my sugar level dropped extremely low till the point like I was like going lifeless, and I swear I was gonna die, you know. So all that's like scared the crap out of me, and I stopped the medication abruptly, and I told the doctor, and you know, excuse me if I'm talking like this, but because I'm a bit flustered at the moment, because it's kind of not nice to talk about these things. You know, it's very unpleasant to be going through these things, you know, and talking about it, yeah. But yeah, so that was like a roller coaster afterwards, because when that medication like affected me in 2018, I was having like nasty symptoms throughout my entire body and inside, like burning and cramping, and I was flipping out. I was extremely suicidal. I wasn't myself at all. I tried to commit suicide like numerous times and so on. And like my entire body was in flame and burning, and you know, I was like very impulsive and like flipping out, and I couldn't believe like what was actually happening to me, you know. I was in a state of shock. I thought like that was the end of me. There was no coming back. I was just trying to end my life, because the reason why I wanted to end my life is because I was under so much pain. I couldn't bear the pain, you know, and I couldn't believe what was actually happening to me. And then again, the side effect from this medication does have you suicidal. So basically, the pain and the medication had me suicidal, you know. And yeah, it was like real crazy, and that went on for like a few months in 2018 into 2019 until things kind of like settled down a bit, you know. And yeah, 2019 was much better. 2020, well, 19, 20, yeah, 2020, the 18, 19, 20, yeah, 2020, the pandemic hit. And yeah, I mean, I was still having symptoms. And so on, you know, but nothing major. You know, nothing like really major to talk about, you know. And yeah, it was nothing really major to talk about, but these mild symptoms on the side of my brain is still there, still, and mild symptoms in my body is still there, still, you know. So yeah, like in the midst of all of this, I finished my certification, but I had a lot of setbacks in the certificate because I'd failed 2 subjects. So in 2020, the year the pandemic hit, I actually went on to well, I didn't get a graduate with my actual year, my year class in within the certification program in music, because of failing 2 subjects, like I said. So I started my degree. I went on to like further in my studies in music technology, from a certificate to a BFA, you know, a bachelor's degree in music technology, you know. And in 2020 I started it, yeah. and I really went after it because I think I was capable of doing it, and yeah, I really wanted to do it too because I mean, my lecturer had faith in me as well, that I'm really capable of doing it, and I show a lot of passion and interest in the music industry and producing music, and you know everybody believed in me and so on, so that's why I went after it, and I believed in myself and all. And as when I started the degree is when I actually was able to finish the certification program, because I ended up finishing one of these subjects I had failed within the certification within the degree, which is called Pro Tools, DAW, industry standard software that we use to produce and record music and so on. So yeah, so I finished the certification program within the degree, and this year, actually 2022, right now as I speak, I'll be graduating with my certification while I'm doing the degree now, in 2022. So yeah, and I'm doing this degree here now, and well, when I started the degree, it take a nasty toll on me again. Not as bad as before when I started this certificate. I thought things would get better, but no, I didn't get better. Things just get crazy, man. Like it just get real crazier, because I thought things would have get so much better, and life would have things would have changed, and but it didn't really change that drastic. But I must say, like, the state I was in when medication had affected me to now, and the state I was in like back then and so on, I'm 90% better. But still, there's that 10% that lingering that is affecting me, and it's actually hard to like focus sometimes and like pay attention and speak properly when I have like these symptoms acting up sometimes. It's difficult to like read properly and understand what I read sometimes properly, depending on how I am feeling at the moment, and yeah, so like some of the symptoms are very unpleasant. Even like now is like real discouraging, one of the reasons why I never quit the certification program back then is because if I had quit, I would have been very frustrated and miserable that I quit. And secondly, I would have been in the same situation, because when I'm home, when I used to be home, I was in a lot of distress, in pain and discomfort and so on. So like going to school and staying home never made a difference. So I used to try to like go to school to distract myself and try to like come out of the situation by going to school. But apparently never really made that much of a difference by going to school, because home and school was like the same thing, same distress and pain and frustration and issues. So yeah, that's why I never really quit, because if I'd quit, like I said, I would have been real pissed off, and secondly, I would have been in the same situation of pain. And presently, right now, while I'm doing the degree, I'm in the same situation where I'm thinking of quitting the degree, or taking like a break on the degree, like a pause on it a bit and go back at it later on. But if I go to if I go to take like a break from it, or if I go to quit on the degree, I would be like real pissed off. Like I said in the certificate, if I done it back then, I would be real pissed off now. And at the same time, I would be under a little bit of distress still. It will not solve anything then, It will not solve the situation then. If I were to quit now, you know. So yeah, so like it's like you're caught up in the middle, you don't know what to do, you don't know if to go left or right, because it's like music is something you love and you really don't want to quit it, and yeah, and yeah, it's like, so I don't know what to say, yeah. So if like I gotta like quit, I'll be real frustrated, so yeah. I have like no options, but at the same time I definitely wanna take a break, but it's like take a break and do what? You know? Take a break and really do what? You know, but yeah. So yeah, yeah, yep. Yeah, so um before I had stepped into the music scene in 2015, my dad had get sick. And before my dad could have actually get sick, um I was basically already starting to like suffer with head pains. It basically had came back before he could have get sick in 2015. But I didn't let that actually stop me from pursuing my talent and gift in music. I went on to continue it, but it was very, very like crazy to deal with having to go to the hospital with my dad, like constantly, ever so often. That alone take a toll on me, and it was very stressful to actually be going to hospital with him and seeing him in that condition. And even today, he is still sick. He has a condition called myasthenia gravis, which is a neurological condition. Yeah, it's a muscular neurological condition. And yeah, so like in the midst of like me going to school in the certification program and presently now in a degree, we had a lot of running around, going to the hospital, like countless times going to the hospital with my dad, doctor visit, procedures and so on. And even I myself, in the midst of like studies and so on, due to the pain and so on, had a lot of countless visits to the doctor to go and get like bags of drips through IV and so on, you know. Yeah, I had like countless visits to the doctor to go and get like painkillers and so on, and like it was real crazy. It was real like real crazy. Like it was like, I mean, if it was my dad going through all this, it should have been my dad, not like my dad, and on top of all this, me as well, So it was like both my dad and me as well, So that is what really, like, really, really break me down bad too at the same time. It's like both of us at the same time, So he had like countless visits by the doctor, and the same as me, like one moment it would be him by the doctor, then one moment it would be me by the doctor, and yeah, that's how it started off, and that started in 2015, and it's like 7 years now, so yeah, it's crazy. Still battling with symptoms and the side of my face and eyelid, and my eye hurts. I had like real horrifying symptoms when the medication had affect me. When it affect my yeah, it's like real terrible state. But like now I intend to like be reflecting a lot on the past, which is not good, and I tend to like be real depressed and frustrated and be asking God like why me, why me. I always try to live a good life and stay away from like drugs and alcohol, and I always try to stay on the right path because my mom brought me on the right path, and my mom and dad like always like taught me the right thing, to like do go down that road of like playing the fool, drinking lime and smoking, doing drugs and shit. I try my best to stay away from that lifestyle. Yeah, I drink, I tried alcohol, cigarette, and I tried weed, but I never get hooked on these substance. I try my very best to avoid and that I try my very best to avoid that lifestyle. Not only avoid that lifestyle, but I really I really never find like happiness in that. Hence the reason why I never went down that road. I never really find happiness in drinking or smoking weed. Even though I tried it, like I drink a few times. It never really made me happy with friends and family members. And I tried weed like one time, and that was it when I was young, and I was like, okay, screw it. That was okay. This is how weed is. But I choose not to go down that road because it never really made me happy. It's just like an illusion. Yeah, and I was be questioning God now. Like it's better I was living a sinful life, doing the worst of the worst thing, drugs, alcohol, partying, clubbing, giving my parents real trouble, doing wrong things. It's better I was living that sinful life, because I try so hard to do the right thing in life, and all this shit happened to me. I feel like terrifying things. I've been through real terrifying things that no human being should feel or have the cause to go through in the entire life. Not even a tree in the forest like should go through this. A beautiful tree. Not even a dog should like basically go through what I went through, and they still sometimes go through on a daily basis. But yeah, now like I tend to be like really depressed. I still have like mild symptoms and so on. Like I said earlier on, in my body as well. But yeah, I tend to be like really depressed and frustrated and battling with like anxiety and so on. Like I tend to be battling with like PTSD and so on, post-traumatic stress disorder, of all the traumatic things I've been through and feel, and it really hurts me sometimes because I never really had an ordinary life. Like I never really had that ordinary boy life. Like having like friends and going out with friends much and so on, because I was always to myself. Because of all these obstacles and challenges. But I guess something good will come out of this one day, hopefully, by the mercy of the Lord. And I wish like one day I could be able to help others. Yep. Peace out.